All right, front porch. Welcome. We are so happy to welcome Renee Roman Nose. I'm going to share a little bit about her bio. Renee is an enrolled member of the Southern Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes of Oklahoma. She's an activist, artist, actor, poet, painter, photographer, and cultural anthropologist. Her book, Sweetgrass Talking, which was published in 2017, also was the winner of the Oregon Book of the Year.
It was nominated.
Oh, nominated. Well, you're a winner for us.
Oh, thank you.
Her paintings and photography were featured at the Calit Theater in Oneida, New York. She's a mother, grandmother, and wife. She's currently working on both her second book called Have War Paint Will Travel, and on her third book, which is yet untitled, which is a collaborative book of poetry with Susan Harjo. So please give a really, really warm welcome to Miss Renee Roman Nose. Oh, and there will be time for questions afterwards too, or even during, depending on how she feels about it. Thank you.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. No longer a wife. Just have to update my bio. So my name is Renee. My Cheyenne name is Ametanea. It's among our people, we don't create new names. We use the names of people who've gone before. So I carry the name of one of my great grandmothers. She was a survivor of the Sand Creek Massacre. She was 5 years old when she was shot in the back of the leg by the U.S. Army. So when people celebrate the 4th of July, I don't really celebrate. My people were treated, if you look at what's happening to Ukraine right now, that's what happened to my people right here on our land. So when you think about where you're walking, you're on tribal land. And I hope that you're thriving. And I see people I know and love here. Thank you for coming. And I see new people I don't know, but I give you love anyway. So that said, I'm actually going to start with a song, if I may. If you don't like singing, this would be a good time to walk out. Thank you. Okay, you stayed, so I probably didn't sing too bad. Big shout out to Robin and Saskia and to Dawn for being my cinematographer. How many of you are familiar with Native culture? Raise your hand if you're familiar with Native culture. Does anybody know what the term snag means? Anybody? A snag is a hookup. If you're lucky, it lasts a lifetime. If you're not lucky, it lasts about 2 minutes, and I'm really sorry. You should have chosen better. So I'm going to read some poetry for you that has to do with Native culture. And in our culture, we have something called a grass dancer. And a grass dancer will go out when you're having a powwow, and he will stomp the grass so that everybody can dance. But his regalia has ribbons on it. So when he's dancing, when he's stomping that grass, those ribbons are swaying, and he looks like grass in the wind. So this poem was written after attending a powwow at Yakima Nation. Grass dancer. He spins into the arena, slides into the spotlight, just as the drums begin, his body twisting to the right. The spotlight follows his every twist and move, sparkling off the cut beads, showing off his powwow groove. The women screamed when his fringe swung above and below. Grass dance man, doing it right. Grass dance man, his moves are tight. The women are all wondering if his moves last all night. He's a grass dancer, tall and lean. He's got moves for days, if you know what I mean. The music pounds, the drummer's song is fierce and loud as the dancer spins to the beat and the delight of the crowd. The drums pound to a stop. The crowd draws a collective breath, waiting with anticipation to see if dancer and song will join at the end, or will he dance too long? The last drum beat fades into the night. The grass dancer's feet stop. A moment passed right. He walks off a bit sheepish. He'd held the crowd till then, but they showed their appreciation. What a dance it had been. This is called How As the Res Turns. Anybody know what a res is? Yes, it's a reservation, correct. Let's see if there's any other terms I need to throw at you. I think that's about it. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand and I'll be happy to answer them as we go through. As the res turns. She's a res girl through and through. She's nothing but trouble. You know it's true. Trading commodity cheese for cigarettes. She'll take your man, too, on a bet. She'll offer a 12-pack just to make you giggle and then lure him away with a smile and a hip wiggle. You'll be crying in your beer. It'll happen so fast. But don't you worry, it won't last. She'll be bored soon. She prefers the chase. She's a hunter born with a taste for the race. Once she wins, she'll move on, a new man in her sights. She just is going to ignore that you had first rights. So choose your man with care, one who's not too cute. Or she'll look at him as her prize and steal your loot. Once he's gone, let him go for good. Don't take him back like your heart says you should. Find one less handsome, one more loyal than the last. You can't win against a res girl. She's much too fast. She wins them away with a wink and a smile, then tosses them when she's done after just a little while. Though your heart may be breaking, here's what you should do. Wait till she has a man and then you do it too. So the res turns into the night. Revenge may not be fair, but it sure feels right. Any questions? Anyone? So the next poem requires audience participation. Raise your hand if you have a Psycho X. Oh, please, I know it's not just me. All right, over here. These are my people. Okay, raise both hands if you have more than one. Okay, time to change your standards. But I hear you, girl. Psycho X's. We met in a chat room, shared late nights and several LOLs. It seemed too good to be true when he invited me to meet. Coffee or breakfast, your town or mine. Our first meeting, so short and sweet, led to another and another. Soon, we were sharing more than laughs, more than a chat room. His res nearby mine. His friends and family were cool, and mine liked him too. But then, she came back. Godzilla with PMS and a resitude. Fully loaded, head tilting, loud, rapid-fire words, destroying the peacefulness we'd shared, wanting her damn man back. Demanding that he come home with her. And he did. Looking back at me shamefacedly as she pulled him along behind her. As if I would rescue my weak-ass warrior from his own demise. Fry bread her butt. If it would have fit in the fryer, I would have. She can have him, that weak-ass warrior. Not man enough for me. Can't dance traditional. Can't speak his language. Can't sing 49 songs to me. Can't drum. Can't even play the love flute. All he had going for him was long hair, a great smile with his own teeth, and what I thought was a genuine love for me. Watching him be dragged into the distance, I breathed a sigh of relief. Now she would have to support his non-working butt, put up with his complaining about everything, none of which he paid for. But damn, he was a good kisser. Any questions? No. Okay. Yes. What res am I from? I'm Cheyenne from Oklahoma, where we were invited at gunpoint to live. We looked at the sun, and then we looked at the army, and we went, you're right, this is a great day to move. I also do stand-up comedy. So that's usually my opening intro for myself. This one's called 90 Shades of Indian Love. Run your fry bread oil covered fingers through my long hair before you braid it nice and tight. Let me climb those thick brown thighs to paradise. I'm a good climber. Sing me a 49 song, a love song to pull at my wounded heart. Promise me you'll be faithful, at least until the next powwow. So I'm going to shake it up now. Where'd I put my book? Any questions? Oh, excellent question. So how many of you have been to a powwow? So after the powwow, there's a 49. And the 49 is the party after the powwow. And if nobody has brought a hand drum, somebody will grab a garbage can lid and they'll drum on that. And they sing songs about broken hearts. They sing songs about people they love who are in jail. It's really quite hilarious. And it's a lot of fun. And there's probably a lot of alcohol involved. But I was always the designated driver. So I have stories for days that I can't tell you because it would get back to the people and they'd be like, hey, I kind of remember that night. But I don't think it happened that way. So actually, I'll tell you one story. We were in Oklahoma for Red Earth Powwow. Me and a bunch of people I know, who shall go nameless. And we heard there was a big 49 at a new housing development. So we drove over there in somebody's car. It was a little Corolla or something like a little Toyota 4-door sedan. And we get there, we're having a great time, carload of women, everybody's flirting, they're all drinking. I'm like, gosh, I gotta work tomorrow. You guys ready to go? And they're like, wait, we heard there's another 49 here. I'm like, okay, well, let's go. So we all piled in the car and we're driving all over this housing complex, this new development. There's no street lights. So we're driving, we're lost, and it's a huge thing. And finally, one of the people with me said, hey, look, there's lights on top of that hill. Just go right up that hill. I'm like, there's no road there. It was all open dirt, and it was a big hill, and it had been raining. But I grew up by Mount Hood, and I could drive anything, anywhere, anytime. So I'm like, yeah, all right. And everybody in the car is like, you can do it. We know you can do it. I'm like, okay, let's go. So we slid and went sideways and kind of went forward. We finally get to the top of this hill and we pull up and we park and we look around and my passengers go, this is the 49 we just left. That was hilarious. So this poem is called My Strength. I see the stallion, thundering hooves striking, powerfully driving him. Muscles bunch and respond, conquering the steep mountain with ease. He storms past me, his strength flowing into me, renewing me physically, spiritually. The stallion gallops determinedly, thundering up the mountain in my mind, protecting me, strengthening me. The storms that surround me fall before him, thundering hooves, scattering the inconsequential, the fear and doubt. I feel the stallion in my heart, enveloping my soul, encompassing me, his hide blinding in its purity. The storms which once ravaged my heart and my life, devastating all in their path, now swept aside by a greater purpose. Thank you. So the next poems I'm going to read to you are from my first book, Sweetgrass Talking. It's got an amazing review by Joy Harjo. How many of you know who Joy Harjo is? She said, and I'm going to read, I don't usually do this, but she's so amazing. She was Poet Laureate for the United States for 2 terms. She said, words can be agents of healing or destruction. These words remake a world and give us insight on how to move and sing, even when we are bound and silenced by the continuum of history. Such powerful and beautiful poetry here from RENÉE Romanos. You will be changed. According to national statistics, Native people are incarcerated at the second highest rate of all Americans, a number only exceeded by African Americans. Statistically speaking, 709 out of 100,000 Native people are incarcerated. 1,815 per 100,000 African Americans are incarcerated. Native people comprise only 2% of the entire population of the United States of America. In Montana, where Native people are 6% of the population, the prison population is 16% Native. This poem was written for our family members who are incarcerated, many of them because they couldn't afford an attorney, competent or not. Patchwork quilted crops strewn across the land. My eyes hunger for the beauty of her face in all its varied wonder. From the striking plains to sun-drenched seas, my eyes hunger for the beauty of her face. Drinking in the glory of the mighty redwoods, silent sentinels watching over her, gazing at majestic mountain peaks and lush valleys, my eyes hunger for the beauty of her face. Cobalt blue lakes beckoning in welcome, pulling me to their stone-strewn shores. To walk by rushing rivers, tumbling, twisting, twining. My eyes hunger for the beauty of her face. My eyes hunger for the beauty of her face. Thank you. Wind Song. The wind carries messages for those with ears to hear. The trees carry signs for those with eyes to see. The forest tells stories to those who can read. The eagle beckons to those whose spirits are free. Thank you. That's one of my favorite poems that I've ever written. Just love it. This one I wrote for my grandfather, Eugene Black Bear Sr., and he was instrumental in my life in teaching me, in putting me on my medicine path. And he took me to Europe once. He called me up. He goes, "Granddaughter, do you have a passport?" I said, "No, Shim, I don't have a passport. Why would I leave my lands?" And he goes, "Can you get one?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Good. I need someone to go to Europe with me and take care of me." I said, "Okay, I'll go." And I thought, nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to pay for a ticket for me to go to Europe. And I was in grad school, which is where I met the delightful Robin Ryan, behind you fine folks. Wait for the crowd, Robin. If ever there's an amazing person on this planet, it's Robin Ryan. So he called me a couple months later, and I told my professors, because I was in grad school, "Hey, my grandpa might be taking me to Europe." And they're like, "Oh, we support a European experience. That's a good idea. You should go." I was like, "But I'm in grad school. I have a lot of assignments. I have 7 part-time jobs because I'm getting an American education." So he calls me up on Friday and he says, "Granddaughter, did you get your passport?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Good. We leave Monday." So we left Monday, and I told everybody when I got there, "I'm here to find out why everybody left. Were your grandparents mean to everybody or what? Why did they all come to America? I just want to know." Doing some empirical data gathering. So dignity. He walks into the arena with care. Each step causes his body pain, yet his mind rejoices. Rejects the stresses, trembling legs threaten to fail and do not. His back slightly bowed by time, a face deeply carved by life, by love, loss, survival. His will stronger than flesh, his heart and soul in each step, carrying him with grace, slow, painful. His movements reflect the beauty and strength of the drum, enduring, everlasting, inspiring. So this one might make you guys feel good about being here. It's called Welcome. Crushed by the crowds. Towering concrete trees block the sun. Thick, dark pollution stunts the view. The very air an enemy. The mountains close round me protective, full of life and hope. Shelter from the storms of a modern world. An escape from the jungle of the city. My lungs and life fill grateful for cleansing breath and clean, bright air. At powwows, we have a dance called a round dance. Has anyone heard of that? So a round dance, if you ever go to a powwow, and I encourage you to do so, they're open to the public. What happens is, during a round dance, it's also called the friendship dance. So someone may come up to you and say, will you come dance with me? And if you say no, you have to pay the dancer. So always say yes. So next time you go to a powwow, and you're welcome to come with me anytime.
Thank you. And is it round
It's
dance?
round dance. Well, we're not going to go, but it is in a circle. So it's a friendship dance. My hand reaches out to you, inviting you to join me in the circle, the round dance, friendship dance. Your reluctance is apparent, understood, but you reach up to me and you take my hand. I help you to stand up and lead you into the circle, guiding your footsteps as others have guided mine. With patience, understanding, and humor. We dance together for this moment in time. The differences in our cultures is forgotten. For this moment, we are joined in friendship and harmony. Thank you. This next poem was written for a young friend of mine. She was a fancy shawl dancer, which is a style of dance. And she was always falling in love with the guys who played at the drum. So I wrote this for her. It's called The Singer. He had flashing dark eyes, long black hair. His teasing ways won me over. His gentleness made me stay. A voice that caught me, held me still. The drum beats match those within me. His songs keep echoing in my heart. Thank you. Thanks. So this next poem, I'm going to read it to you. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. Then I'm going to ask you a question. Is everybody ready? Okay. Snow Angel. Long black hair, smooth copper skin, fall into the snow, fall with me again. Thank you. Okay, what's that about? Anybody? What's that poem about? Yes. Well, it's not about snow angels, but that's a really good guess. Anyone else? What do you think that poem's about? Anybody? Yes. Close. So I was in Reno for a conference, and one of my friends from the Gila River Indian community, and at Gila River, they grow them tall. So my friend was about 6'4", probably, he was a pretty hefty guy. So we're in Reno. He's like, let's go up to the snow. I'm like, yeah, let's go. So we drove up to the snow, and then we decided to have a snowball fight. Well, I grew up by Mount Hood. Snow is my second nature. And so he said snowball fight. I'm like, I'm in. We used to build snow forts, and we'd have snowball fights for hours. Because back then, your parents said, come back when the sun goes down. Right? We didn't have tablets. We didn't have phones. We barely got to watch TV. We had, how many channels? Was it 3? 4 channels? Yeah. 2, 6, 8, and 12. And anyway, so this was actually about a snowball fight. And I had a big old snowball, and I tossed it at him, and I clocked him right here. Boom! It's a long way down when you're 6'4". And he never had a snowball fight with me again. Amateur. Grew up in the desert. There's no snow in Gila River by Phoenix. All right, so my book talks about historical to contemporary Native issues. It talks about relationships. And a lot of times when I'm confronted with historical generational trauma, with the failed policies of the federal government and every single treaty being broken by the federal government. In fact, the Supreme Court just ruled that Navajo Nation is not entitled to clean water, even though it's in their treaty. So what are we doing if we can't keep a treaty with our own residents? And we've been residents since 1924, thank you. And we've lived here since time immemorial, but woohoo! You now have citizenship, and we're going to give it to you. And we're not even from here. So anyways, 1995. Save a fish, kill an Indian, the bumper sticker proclaimed from a white pickup. Welcome to the land of the free, where the fishing rights and treaties last as long as a whisper on the wind. Promises made to our grandparents, for as long as the grass shall grow, as long as the rivers flow, or until we find something we want on your land. Uranium, oil, gold, all for what? For a land you cannot possess, only rent for a short time. How can you own the earth, the sky, the air? The air that we breathe, that you're destroying day by day. Technology has brought us so far that some people can't leave their homes. Now we're all paying for your deeds. It is not too late to recover from all that has been wrought. Not too late to live at peace with the earth and your brothers and sisters of all nations. Custer died for your sins, said a bumper sticker on a res car. Thank you. So we just had Victory Day. Does anybody know what that would entail, Victory Day? That's the day we killed Custer. So how many of you think that Custer was killed by a man? Raise your hand if you think that. He killed by a soldier. Custer was killed by a woman. He had a Cheyenne wife. He had a Cheyenne child. He kept attacking our villages, kept attacking our women and our children. And he promised he wouldn't do that anymore. So when he broke his promise at Little Bighorn, we reminded him of his promise. And he was taken by a woman. Because women are fierce. And we don't need any government edict that says we're allowed to go to battle. You tick off a mama, see what happens. The Pilgrims. They wanted the land from sea to shining sea, and they left only pockets for you and me. Treaties and promises, Supreme Court decisions fall swiftly when gold or profit calls. Encouraging expansion and revisions, more and more invaded our shores. Manifest destiny was the cry. It led to our imprisonment. Blanketed us with disease and starvation. brought us to the verge of extinction. The loss of millions of lives, virtual genocide, brought to this by greed or man's inhumanity to man. You decide. White girl, hanging in the chat room, telling me how it is, saying get over it. Past is past. I say past is present. We are a part of what has gone before. We carry them within us, their dreams, their hopes, their fears. Should we forget where we come from? What they gave up for us? Forget that they fought to protect this land, fought to protect each other from invaders? Should we forget that the U.S. government wanted us exterminated to the last woman and child? These United States, yes, we love our country. We love our land. But we do not forget. The birthday. A new day dawned brightly. The promise of life renewed sparkled from the dew on every leaf. A cry pierced the early morning air, the sound of a newborn babe. The mother cradled her child gently in her arms, looking down on the newest member of her tribe, seeing the dark, solemn eyes widen at her gaze. She spoke softly to calm and reassure. The thick thatch of black hair stood boldly aloft. She smoothed it with a soft caress from her work-hardened hands. Her husband strode into the teepee to gaze with pride at his child. He reached for the babe with hands that trembled when he touched the infant. Gently, tenderly, he held the babe, smiling down with evident pride. Looking at his weary wife, his eyes spoke for him, conveying his pride and love. Enveloping her in a blanket of furs, he laid the babe in her arms. Then he knelt down and pulled them both against his chest, protectively, lovingly cradling them. As the sun rose, word spread through the village of the birth. A child who would someday lead his people now lies safely in his mother's arms. Okay, I don't know how in your face I can get with you all. All the way, she says. All right, who's up for it? You up for the ride? Okay. All right, we're going to go deep now. Heroes rise, heroes fall. I see history books differently than you. Your textbooks glorify the roles of your ancestors, making us appear as savages, brutal, untrustworthy, turning your invading ancestors into mighty heroes. Abraham Lincoln painted as the great emancipator, freeing the slaves while the world watched, killing the Indians as he pursued genocide from sea to shining sea. The great L. Frank Baum, writer of The Wizard of Oz, promoter of Indian extermination. Abraham Lincoln was my hero for so long as a child, until I grew and learned of the 38 native men he sentenced to hang for defending their land, the largest mass hanging in the history of the United States. As a child, Oz was my escape until I found Baum's published editorials. He promoted, quote unquote, total annihilation of the few remaining Indians as a way to secure land from those who lived upon it first. Mark Twain. Ah, the profound sadness it brought to my heart to read of his belief in Indian extermination. Andrew Jackson, the great Indian fighter, denying the Cherokee their Supreme Court decision, driving them to death on the Trail of Tears. Heroism is relative. Don't believe all the hype. We all have heroes. We all have misconceptions. We have a responsibility to learn the truth. We have the right to demand the truth. And what we're seeing right now, this poem was written 20 years ago. What are we seeing across our country? We're seeing Texas, where the majority of textbooks that go out to our students across the nation, Texas is minimizing history. Texas is whitewashing history because they don't want kids to feel bad. You can't learn about the Holocaust without feeling bad. You can't learn about history without feeling sad for people it's hurt. Doesn't mean you're responsible. Doesn't mean we want you to dwell in it. We want you to understand so it doesn't happen again. It's happening in Ukraine right now. Thousands of children have been stolen from their families and taken God knows where in Russia, removed from their families. And how are Ukrainians treating this invasion? They're doing exactly what we tried to do. They're protecting their towns. They're protecting their families. What's happening to their women? Their women are being violated. There is not a man on this planet who didn't come from a woman. Every man should be taught to respect women. Every man should be taught to respect us. The future of the world lies within us. I carried my grandchildren within me. Each of you, women, you carried your grandchildren within you. Doesn't matter if you had children or not. Take care of the children around you. Teach our men to be respectful. Teach them to be kind. Teach them to advocate for the safety of our women. There's no future without us. And in Ukraine, they're raping grandmothers and they're raping children. And we need to do more than just send them weapons. We need to do everything we can to protect them from the aggressor, from the liars of Russia. So I hope Putin sees this. Come on down. I'll teach you what scalping really means. I have a nice new knife. I get all grumpy when I think about Putin. And people like that. Why? Why? Stay in your own country. You have a gigantic country. Stay there. Quit oppressing your own people. Quit oppressing others. It's just a thought. Eternal song. I feel the song of 1,000 years. I smell the earth of my ancestors. I see the sky that looked on other nations. I hear the song that carries us through the ages. I taste the victory so long denied. Okay, you guys ready? All right, stuff's about to get real. I invite you to close your eyes. I'm going to tell you about that massacre that I told you my great-grandmother survived. If her mother hadn't carried her for 50 miles through a Colorado winter, I wouldn't be standing before you today. I carry her name. Her name was Living Woman. This is hard, but every single word is true. And I'll try to get through it without tears, but if I don't, that's okay. My grandfather taught me tears are a gift from the Creator. Tears are for healing. So please close your eyes and come with me back to November 29th, 1864. With the mist rising from the frozen winter Colorado ground, on a bend in the Sand Creek, 600 people peacefully camped at the request and invitation of the U.S. Army, telling us to camp near Fort Lyon, to be under the protection of Fort Lyon. Led by those in agreement of peace, we followed their request, moving our people within 40 miles of the fort, sending our men east to hunt buffalo, while 600 people, women, children, and elders, with some 35 men, stayed behind at camp. Trusting our safety to the white man's word, so trusting that we posted no guard. The only warning we had on that long ago winter sunrise, hooves falling on the frozen land. Some thought it was buffalo. Then women cried out, "Soldiers!" Awakened abruptly, confusion broke out. Many people, barely dressed, ran to imagined safety. Hundreds rallied to Chief Blackkettle's camp. He held a lodgepole high in his hands, flying bravely from that pole the large garrison flag gifted to the Cheyenne. At a meeting between Abraham Lincoln and our chiefs, Blackkettle, Roman Nose, and others, Colonel Greenwood had assured us we would be safe, protected as long as we stood under the American flag. Women, children, elders ran to stand beneath promised safety invoked by that American flag. Beneath that flag was another, the white flag of truce. "Do not be afraid," cried Blackkettle to our people. "The soldiers will not hurt you." Then they opened fire on unarmed women, children of all ages, on peaceful chiefs and slow-moving elders. Bullets flying, soldiers dismounting to fire howitzers upon the once sleeping village, towards the hundreds of women and children now gathered beneath that American flag. A 75-year-old man singing as he faced over 700 troops, saying, "Stop! Stop!" with his hands held high. Then White Antelope sang, "Nothing lives long, only the earth and the mountains," the death song of the Cheyenne. They fired on him, shot down an unarmed grandfather. He sang, "Nothing lives long, only the earth and the mountains." White Antelope's testicles cut off by a soldier who bragged to his comrades of his plans to make a tobacco pouch from his gruesome trophy. Colonel Shivington, Methodist minister, man of God, man of the cloth, man of blood and death, on that bitter cold winter morning commanded those troops against those who knew we were peaceful, those who recognized the flag of truce, those few among the troops who sought to end the madness. Bullets flew among those huddled beneath that flag. The people ran to freedom, to imagined safety. 35 men left at camp ran seeking weapons, any weapon, to fight this unexpected attack, protect elders, children, women who ran screaming in fear. The men cried out to the women to come to them as they formed a circle around them to protect them with their own bodies. People who ran with their arms raised in surrender were shot in the back, trying to escape. Many hiding under the banks of the creek. Eventually, women came out, lifting their dresses to reveal themselves as women. When soldiers approached, shot down as they stood there, skin bare in winter's stark light. Shot down and desecrated as soldiers took trophies from the defenseless bodies of the many women of all ages. Proof they killed women cut from the bodies of their victims. Soldiers' drapes women's breasts and monties over the pommels of their frickin' saddles. By those who later sought to civilize us. They cut off the penises and testicles of the men as well. None were safe that morning, not elders, not women, not children, certainly not warriors, not one native person left unscalped. With razor-sharp sabers, infants cut from the safety of their mothers' bodies. swung by their tiny feet, heads dashed against the rocks, left to die in the bitterness of that late November winter sun. Our men dug pits in the dry creek bed to defend the flight of those running to safety, our weapons puny against the might of the troops of Colonel Shivington. Our few men who remained fought for hours when the quote-unquote battle was over. Those who survived escaped, as had the women, children, and elders who had run away in terror. People ran toward the east to where our hunters had gone, blood frozen on our bodies, clothing left far behind in what was left of our homes, now ransacked, looted, and destroyed. We ran to safety, barefoot, wounded, and stunned. No food, nothing to bandage our wounds. 50 miles to the safety of our men. 50 miles in the icy cold Colorado winter. Bitter winds whipping us on our way. We straggled into the hunting camp, our men shocked at our sudden appearance, shocked, followed by tears of heartbreak, tears of warriors, men hardened by battle, by time, by culture, by their own egos. Tears of the warriors fell like rain. Over 100 women and children and elders and 28 men lay in that camp far behind us now, where we had promised to go, where the white man had promised us safety and peace on that long ago winter morning, November 29th, 1864, our Pearl Harbor, our 9/11, one of many. Thank you. I want to thank each and every one of you for taking a healthy risk, for joining me, for allowing me to share with you the history of my people, the history of my family. Each and every person here, you have those histories too. We all come from trauma, but we also come from joy. We also come from love. We also come from resilience and strength, or you wouldn't be here today. So when you walk in this world, remember that. Remember that you, yourself, you can make this world a better place. Use your voice. Use your vote. Use your presence in the world. Make it better for me. Make it better for my children. Make it better for my grandchildren and for 7 generations to come. Let's make it better for all our children. Thank you.